back to the channel. You saw my previous video on how to put, well, a Ford vehicle, but we're gonna, be talking about the 2018 F-150 with the electronic parking rear brake. You saw verbally with some pictures on how to put this thing in and out of brake maintenance mode. Because if you don't, you are going to blow-ish sky high when you compress the pistons. So, a couple things I want to talk about that are very important with doing this job. One, put it in brake maintenance mode. Be sure to take it out of brake maintenance mode. With that video over there that I made, check that one out. Two, pop the hood, find your master cylinder, take the cap off, set it somewhere so that as you're compressing the caliper, you're not building up pressure in there. Is it gonna blow something? Probably not, but why build up that pressure in there? Put the cap back on after you're done with one side, so that when you're putting the rotor and pads back on, you need to pump the brakes to basically make everything lock in place and get tight. Because you'll notice, because you compressed that piston out, everything's gonna be sloppy in there. So you have to go in the vehicle, pump the brakes to make everything kind of clamp together. When you're done with that first side, keep it in brake maintenance mode, take the cap back off the master cylinder again so that you can compress that piston. I also highly recommend, and you're gonna see where I'm doing it, you need to lube those slider pins. It's a really good idea. They're supposed to squish in and out. If they don't, then your piston's gonna lock up, cock sideways, probably a bunch of bad shit's gonna happen. It's real simple, just pull them out, stick some grease in there. I'm making those nasty noises because that's kind of what it sounds like. So that's another recommendation. I also really recommend putting that anti-seize on the inner part of the rotor so it doesn't just bake onto the axle housing. Also, telling you, if you don't have jet ski where you can put lug nuts in a footwell, check this out. Here's your visual. You're screwed. Just don't do the job. There's nowhere else you can put lug nuts. So if you don't have a jet ski to put lug nuts in a footwell, forget it. Don't even bother doing the job. And then, as far as like the really, really important things not to forget, that's pretty much it. Now we're gonna show you step by step. And if you're anything like me, when it comes to fixing anything, learning something new, I watch video after video after video, just to make sure I'm not missing something. Someone didn't forget an important step. So that's when I start doing things myself, because it's the same process, the same thing over and over again. No one's bringing in anything new. No one's forgetting something. So if this is just another video you're watching, to say, let me just watch one more video just to make sure that this is how you do rear brakes and maintenance mode on these Ford vehicles, absolutely. Hope it helps. Semper Fi. All right, so we're going to try this for real. I'm going to push the gas pedal to the floor. The key's in the ignition, it's off. Gas pedal to the floor. I am going to push the emergency brake, turn the key auxiliary on while my foot is to the floor. We're going to turn it off. We're going to turn it back on auxiliary, and we're going to hold everything. Park brake not released. We're holding. All right, park brake maintenance mode. Okay, that's how you do it. So now I'm going to turn the truck off because we are in brake maintenance mode. If you're on the side of the road, obviously take out your tire changing kit. It's behind your rear passenger seat. All those extensions go together. You're using that regular tire iron to crank up. We're gonna get it just off the ground. Just off the ground. Not gonna go cranking this thing up real high for no reason. Some of you are gonna give me flack for using this, but I just don't care today. I don't even have my spare. Let's see how we're looking. We're gonna go with this. Still gonna need a little bit of help from this. I apologize for not doing the video of the front brakes like I told you all I would. I used the headset, the GoPro headset. This was the whole video. It sucked. So the difference with the front brakes, you don't have to put it in brake maintenance mode. And you can, well, you have to take a brake caliper bracket off. Most important part is you gotta set these lug nuts on a jet ski in the footwell. If you don't have a jet ski to set those in a footwell, you might as well just not even do the job. A little bit of humor there. Okay. These clips you'll be replacing, your brake pads sit inside them. This nut gets unscrewed first. It's pistons that hold your caliper in place. Here's the other one. Your brake caliper, rotor that we're replacing, and these are the pads. These rotors are also vibrating and the pads are worn. So now let's get into the next step. All right, so again, caliper, slider, 13mm bolt, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. That's as you're facing it. So in this case, it will be going this way down to the floor. I'm pushing this way to loosen. You know, I get into making YouTube videos. Let me tell you, the editing is like the longest and hardest part. Here's the bottom one. You see, it didn't take me a boatload of effort to get these off. Didn't even need a breaker bar. These do not have, all right, you see this spinning right here? This is where you have to take another wrench to hold it in place because you don't want it to spin. Holding it in place with one of these loosen up wrenches. What the hell is it called again? Same for the top. Here's the bolts. Here's the other one. We're gonna set these on that jet ski footwell. I'm telling you, if you don't have a jet ski, you're screwed. Now this can slide off, this whole assembly here. Your brake caliper. Probably set it down. When this comes off, there's a brake line connected to it. You don't want to just have this thing fall and hang. You can cause damage to the brake line. So you're gonna nicely negotiate this thing off of here. See what I did? It's resting on my fishing toolbox. Okay. The caliper's sitting there. Here's those brake lines. This right here is your electronic parking brake that you had to get out. of you had to put it back in, you had to put it in brake maintenance mode. Here's your pads. These, let's get the right angle. Oh, look at that rotor just sitting there. It's gonna come right off. These pads are about gone. I did these 2 years ago, don't remember the mileage. So now, the lucky part for us, this rotor just slides right off. You know why it slides right off? Because I put anti-seize along this surface that goes up against the, I know, I should probably know this, but I don't, but we're just gonna call it the drive axle housing. So listen, if you can't get these off, you're gonna do something with some leverage. I would recommend doing brakes and rotors at the same time, because as I found out when I did the front, a year later, the rotors started vibrating, which means they were warped. So I had to replace them anyway. So in that event, you don't have to be friendly with these rotors. I use an axe, and we're talking like it's over there, it's a full-fledged axe, and you just bang up against that rotor here, 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 or a sledgehammer. Just bang, 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 and it will come off. Don't try using a screwdriver. Just seriously, don't try prying off the rotor with a screwdriver by trying to jam a screwdriver in there. It's not gonna work. Okay? And we're gonna be dealing with brake dust and brake cleaner. So I'm gonna put my virtue signal mask on. Because a little paper mask stops a virus. So, got your trusty brake pads, your trusty rotor. These are much lighter than the front ones. I go to the gym often, I know what a 45-pound weight feels like. And those front rotors, I'm gonna say are a good 45 pounds. These feel like they weigh 10 pounds. They come wrapped. You need to brake clean these because there's an oil on them. God, that stuff smells. And do the back. Inside here, I have a couple things. These are the new clips that you need to put on this harness. I mean, is it catastrophic if you don't? No. One time I didn't do it, but it's a new part. Put it on, make it look pretty. Here's the anti-seize. Stops it from frickin' welding onto here. So I'm gonna brake clean this surface. And again, I'm going to take anti-seize, put it on my finger, and put it around here, because that goes up against this surface. And we do not want to be spending 900 years banging again. All right, I'm going to take my glove off for this. Now, what I also did on the front, I have a wire brush on a drill, and I kind of just wire brushed some of the rust off of here. I don't really see rust on here this time. And again, this is why I like doing things myself. Seriously, it's not so much like a money thing. I know I'm gonna put anti-seize on things. I know I'm going to lubricate these again, because a lot of times if these lock up, it can kind of seize up your rotor if they're not free to go in and out. Anti-seize. Squirt on finger. First, I like to visually look at how they're sitting on here. And then I take one and hold it up the same way Okay, so we're gonna pop this puppy off. A little bit of brake cleaner. Pop the new one on. We want to clean this piston real good in this area in here. This is the piston that pushes on your pads against the rotor. Again, we put it in park brake maintenance mode is because now we have to depress this piston in to put the new pads in that go over the rotor so that they fit. But again, there's a lot of brake dust built up in there. I'm going to spray this with some brake cleaner and wipe it down. Kids in my generation always had to improvise. All right, the piston's clean, the gunk around the side is clean. Now we're gonna use a tool to depress this piston. That's this tool. Yeah, you can do the old C-clamp method, but we're gonna use this as it's designed. You used to have to turn this in to get it in. This one does not. The piston looks similar, but it actually gets depressed. This tool sits in here like this. That part is up against the piston. And you start tightening. Let me know if you see that piston going in. I believe we're depressed enough. We're gonna find out. We're gonna put our rotor back on. And now the pads are kind of going to be self-explanatory. Meet up against the rotor, and this says up. This is the top side. Obviously, this is going to go in here. This says up, up, same thing. They're on, they're flush, they're lined up with the rotor. Pull these out, and we're going to put new grease on them because, as you see, they need to push in and out. So it's called brake lubricant. That's what it's for, these slider pins. It's good enough. And it's just gonna slide back in there. And look, some of that grease came off. So yeah, I'm gonna say that's another important step because that's what stops these things from seizing up. So guess what? Basically, you're good. Now, we just put I forgot one more thing. Another reason why I do it myself. Each one of these nuts, I'm gonna put some anti-seize on this surface so that they don't lock up on here. Anti-seize. All right, let's check this out. Now what we do is we put the caliper back on over the brakes. Hopefully it's depressed enough. Gotta push those in, get that in there. Well, that was definitely depressed enough. Okay. Now, of course, we're lining up holes and putting screws back in, or bolts, if you will. All right, so now we flip this to righty-tighty. Spinning, so we're going to hold it in place with this again. So what we're going to do is we're going to do good and tight. once it's tight, you want to just kind of give it, and that's good. And that's all I want to do. We're going to move this out of the way. I'm going to clean all this now. Let's make sure everything's still sitting in place. Running out of this stuff. Make sure this stays in place. I'm going to lean this up against here. I don't want anything shifting. Okay, those are pushed in there. It's going to squeeze the caliper, get everything nice and tight. Inspect, make sure nothing cocked out sideways like brake pads or anything. I'm just going to do the same process we just did on the other side, but because I just put brake fluid pressure onto this to get this tight, I'm going to now take the cap back off so that I can do the other side and depress the caliper and all that. So I'm going to go ahead and put this wheel on. Oh, I'm so glad that's over. Yeah, so we're gonna play a little game here. If you know what this background is, what it's from, and more specifically, which, you are the master. I play this game with a lot of people. I might start throwing these in my videos now. If you guess this, you are the man, or the woman, or, oh wait, I forgot, there is only two sexes. So at the end of every job, what you're supposed to do is one last important part. You gotta crack a beer. Semper Fi. Yep.